Well, hello, Blue Marble Riders. It's been quite a while, long time no see, but I'm back and I'm looking forward to it. Start the videos rolling again slowly. So, on to today's video. When was the last time you spent $2,000 on two inner tubes for your motorcycle? If someone had asked me if I was going to spend $2,000 on a pair of inner tubes for my motorcycle, I'd have laughed in their face. And yet, that's what I did. And this video is about that. Okay, so let's back up. Let's get the backstory. I have been riding off-road since 2012. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is to go to a system called the tubliss system. And if you know anything about enduro bikes, they have spokes. And so most enduro bikes with spokes, apart from some of the big beamers and so on and so forth, and I wouldn't call them an enduro bike, they need an inner tube. And if you're smart, you're going to get a heavy-duty inner tube if you are riding enduro or if you're riding a dirt bike off-road. Because round here and in a lot of different places, a lot of the connecting roads or the Forest Service roads are made out of something called rock crush. And rock crush is basically blast rock, which will be very sharp, almost flinty. Think of riding across that. It's not so bad when you've got high tire pressures, but when you've got low tire pressures, because you want more traction in those slimy, slippery single track zones where the fun is to be found, well, that can be an issue. And if you want to see what sort of issue that can be, just take a look up here. I've got a video where I got a pinch flat many years ago and doing exactly that sort of thing. I was running inner tubes at far too low pressure, and I hit some rock crush, and poof, off it went. So I have been dicing around for a long time with an enduro bike, enjoying it. It's probably my favorite riding, but I've always had this thought in the back of my head that I would get myself into the New Tech Gen 2 tubeless system. So before I get too old, I've always wanted to get into that tubeless system for the very reasons that I can ride with low pressures over rock crush and not worry about getting a pinch flat. How does it do that then? Well, the tubeless system isn't entirely tubeless. What it is, and I'll flash some pictures up and show you, is it is a very high pressure inner tube that goes around the base of the rim, I should say, just covering the spokes. So you've got a layer of some fabric over the spokes, some very resistant fabric, and over that you have 100 to 120 psi inner tube. It's tiny, but what it does do, it may not be high. The profile is very low, but it's wide, and it will push the bead of the tire onto the inside of the rim. And so in essence, you have two compartments. You have this 100 psi inner tube, tiny little thing that's right up against the rim, out of the way of any harm, below the sides, in fact. And then you've got this air compartment like a traditional tubeless tire, which is fantastic because it means that you can run the tubeless tire at any pressure you want. In fact, if you go take a look at the Aussie riders, the enduro cross riders is what I'll call them, they use tubeless all the time, and I've been watching them for years. They seem to have so much fun going up impossibly steep slopes where you wouldn't ordinarily would not get any traction because you can't run your tires at low enough pressure. And they're running them at 0, 1, and 2 psi. I wouldn't be that extreme, but it's something I've always wanted to try, something I've always wanted to do, to be a little more confident in the slippery, slimy stuff, the serious grades, and have that traction. So I decided to spring for that tubeless system. And initially, it didn't seem too bad. The tubeless system was about $150 Canadian for each of the tubeless systems, one for the 21-inch front wheel of my Husaberg and one for the 18-inch rear wheel of my Husaberg. So $300. There's a caveat. You do have to mount them preferably with new tires. If there's any damage to the bead of the tire, doesn't matter how hard that presses, the tubeless system presses the tire bead against the rim, you're going to get air leakage. So you don't want that. Best to do, you put the money into this tubeless system. Why not buy a pair of, adequately good off-road tires for your dirt bike, enduro bike? So that's what I did. Yep, another $200. So now we're looking at $500. And with that, I thought, okay, we're good. Then I looked at the videos about how to install them and realized there are so many ways you can screw this up that I thought, well, I'll just take it down to my local dealer. And I'm kind of glad I did in hindsight, and more on that in a minute. So I did, took it to my local dealer, and they said they would charge me, 80, $100 to put these on. There's so many ways you can screw up the install and damage the tubeless system that unless you've done this a few times with someone else who's experienced, you can take a risk if you're on money bags. But if you're like me at a cheapskate, you're probably going to get someone else to do it, because in the long run, this could be the sensible choice. So I thought, well, it was, but. So now I'm into $500 for those tires and another $100 for the labor on installing them. Professional install down at my wonderful dealers down in Ladysmith there. They did a great job, so I'm not trashing them at all. So I decided to drop them off, all happy, and was expecting a call later that day or perhaps early next day. Well, was I impressed when I got a call just after I walked back in my door again. Wow, that was quick. I could have stayed there and picked them up. No. What had happened was they had taken off my old tires, taken off my heavy-duty inner tubes, peeled away the rim tape, and noticed electrolysis. The Husaberg rims are very high-end rims, and they are anodized, completely anodized in and out. They're aluminum, and then they're laced with stainless steel spokes. The stainless steel spokes and the anodized aluminum had reacted because many times I've used slime on them, and the slime sort of facilitated an electrolysis, if you like, and it had actually damaged the tops of all the spokes. So to unscrew the spoke heads was almost an impossibility. They were welded in there with years of electrolysis and corrosion. The rims were safe, but I was told that there is not a chance that they were going to install this tubeless system on them, because it just wouldn't be safe, and it probably would damage my tubeless system pretty quickly. So would I like my old tubes back on and my tires back on? Well, you know what they say. In for a penny, in for a pound. How much more expensive could this be? Quite, it turns out. So I had two choices as it was presented to me, and my dealers are fantastic. As I've said, they were very open with this. They basically said, you can keep the old tubes and we can reinstall the tires and you can take them home, and those rims will last forever. They're not going to be, it's not going to, they're not about to fail. But we do not want to put a tubeless system in there, because the tubeless system will be abraded, eroded, damaged by all the corrosion in there. So you've got two choices, and here they are. One, we can chop the spokes out. Take the spokes, unlace the spokes, get the tops off, and then we can send this for a complete clean and re-anodize, and then we can buy new spokes and relace them. That will be about $1,200 to $1,300. Or you can buy new rims. Well, it turns out that's exactly the same price, $1,200 to $1,300. So, in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say, I'll buy the new rims. I bought the new rims. They installed the tubeless system on them, and put the new tires on, and I got them home and I've bolted them onto the bike. And as you can see in a second, I'll just give you some close-ups and views of what I did there. So this is the inner tube. It should always be between 100 120 psi, as it says on the sticker here. This is the tire pressure. So these are now tubeless. There's also the rim lock here. So there it is. They're a peach. They really are fantastic. Are they worth $2,000? No. No, they're not. How did I get into this situation? Well, it just sort of cascaded from one thing to another, and before you knew it, I'd spent $2,000 on a pair of inner tubes. I still have the old rims, and I'm every intention of cleaning them up myself and maybe using them as a super motard adaptation for my Husaberg in the future when I'm too old to ride off-road. I'm kind of glad I've done it. They really are fantastic traction. It's a whole new dimension, and I'm so pleased I did it. The confidence they give you in the traction that you've got, the ability to climb up the most slimy and horrible looking slopes out there is amazing. And you can do it slowly without having to burn up in case you lose traction. So from that perspective, I'm super happy. $2,000 happy?
Once again, thanks for watching everyone. If this is the first time you've watched, please consider subscribing. I do product reviews, motorcycle reviews, off-road and on-road vlogs, as well as tours. Don't forget to follow me on social media, that's Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and to like, and especially, I'm begging you here folks, subscribe. This is the BlueMarbleRider, out.